So what we're going to do is today we're going to sign into Onshape, look at the basics. We're going to look at how to create a model, a 3D model, how to use the fundamental tools of Onshape to go about creating a 3D model. And we'll just look at kind of the overall fundamentals and just how to share a document as well. So I'll start with signing in. I'm also creating a little PDF on the side using AI. So hopefully that helps at the end. So just sign in with your school email and then whatever password you set it to. Forgot password if you can't remember. Your teacher does not have access to these details. They may have access to to your email. That's it. All right, once you have gotten into this home page, there's just maybe one or two things I want you to check. First, I want you to check under your account, my account, your preferences. I want you to check whether you're in the correct units. So the main one that matters is millimeters. So make sure you're in millimeters. And then you can change the rest of this. So meter per second squared if you like, degree per second, kilogram, kilonewton, Newton meter, kilopascal, joule, and then 12-hour time format. Save those changes. Then once that has been saved, you can head back to Onshape just by clicking the actual Onshape button in the top left corner. From here, you're ready to create a model. So we're going to create something very basic to begin with. So let's left click on create, left click on document, and then we're going to type in the object that we're going to create. So the first thing we'll create is the number 1 square block. Now you'll have a booklet that takes you through each model and what it looks like. I'll give you access to that, but for now we're just going to do it on the screen. So you can look at that. You can follow along with the booklet that you have access to as well. If you don't have access to that, just ask me for it and I'll give it to you. But from here you can create public document. Takes a second to load in just because it's creating a new workspace. Now, as you can see here, we have they're called planes. Planes of, basically, you could think of them as different canvases on different angles. So if you think about the top plane, as you can see, it's kind of flat, what you would consider like the floor. You could also consider it as like the roof as well. So if you go from this top angle here, kind of looking down on it, you could consider it the floor, but if you look at it from underneath, you would consider it the roof. So depending on your perspective will depend on what you consider it, but basically it's our flat kind of horizontal surface. Then you have the right plane. So if you look at this from a different angle, you have the right plane backwards. You could say it's the left plane then. And even on the block here, it says left, but we're dealing with it a little bit differently on this. It's only one plane, so it's not like a right and then left. But you could think of this as a wall. So if you got the floor and you've got a side wall here and a side wall here, and then the front walls here and here, or front and back walls here and here, we've got our wall here and our wall here. Both of those walls, depending on what angle you look at them from, would be considered this right plane. This will make sense when I start drawing on these different planes. Then you have your front plane. So you could consider this the front wall where the door might be, and then the back wall. So depending again on what angle you look at it from, front and back. For the most part, I personally like to model on the front and top plane. I don't often model on the right plane, although sometimes it is useful. As you'll see, there'll be different models that you do, and each model might, the bulk of what the details that it is might be on the front. You might feel tempted to model on the front because the bulk of the details are there. You can do it a bunch of different ways, but oftentimes it's easier if you choose the plane that lends itself towards a particular model. For now, let's model on the top plane. So I'm selecting this plane. I haven't selected any others. If I do select any others like this, you'll see it says the number 2 on my cursor. What we want to do is left click out an empty space and then left click on the top plane. And it should only have one selected. If you ever want to deselect anything, just left click out an empty space. So starting with our top plane, you can also select it over here. We're going to create a sketch. So essentially the way this software works is we're going to make a 2D image and then we're going to give it mass. All right, we're going to make that 2D image into a 3D model. And I'll show you how to do that. We essentially just like pull the 2D into a 3D space. So at a very basic sense, I'll kind of quickly show you now. So I'm sketching and we have different shapes that we can sketch along here. This is the majority of what you use. There are certain tools like trimming tool where you can just snip lines, and then dimensioning tool where you can change the dimensions or figure out what the dimensions of particular lines are. That also works for angles. That tool will be very useful in the future, but for now we'll just focus over here. So what we're going to use is our rectangle tool. Specifically, we're going to use our center point rectangle tool. So not corner rectangle, our center point rectangle tool. The difference between the two is one draws rectangles from left clicking in the middle of it and then dragging it out. And then one draws angles from the corner out like that. So you can see the difference. Control Z to get rid of any shapes that you've made. So it's back to an empty space and you're just in your first sketch. So center point rectangle is what I'm going to use. I'm going to left click on this origin point once. So one left click to begin the shape. And then one more left click to finish the shape. Now, do not click anything else. Hands away from the mouse. As you can see, there is a white box that just popped up. Do not click that box. You do not want to click the box, okay? As you can see, I can move between those two dimensions is what they are. So we know that this side of the square is 81.10658. Then this side of the square is 97.08, So the one that's white is the one that we can type into. So without clicking anything, I go straight to my keyboard and I type in the number that I want it to be. So in this case, it's at 100. So I'm typing in 100 and then I'm pressing enter. All right, and then as you can see, the other box just showed up. And again, without selecting it, I'm just going to type in the number 100 and then I'm going to press enter. So 2 clicks. All right, you ready? I'll show you one more time and a bit faster. I'm using my center point rectangle. As you can see, it gets grayed out when you've selected it. Left click once to start the shape, left click twice to finish the shape, hands off the mouse, type in your dimension, press enter, type in your other dimension for the other side, or maybe it's a circle and you only have to do it once, 100, and then press enter. So now I have my square that's 100 by 100. I could have made it 100 by 50, but I've chosen 100 by 100. So this is my 2D shape. This is my 2D sketch. I'm going to tick this sketch, and then I'm going to use a different tool on it. I'm going to use the extrusion tool. So up here, it's right next to the sketch button. If you have a box here that still says sketch, it's because you haven't ticked your sketch. All right. So I'm going to use my extrude button, left click on that. And as you can see, it now says extrude in this little pop-up box. I'm going to select my 2D shape that I want to extrude. Okay, you have to select something to extrude. All right, you'll see what extrude is in a minute. Now you can select it over here or you can select it over here. That's what that looks like there, but I often find, and you can deselect it here, I often find it's easier to select it in the sketch over on the left side. So if you select it there, it doesn't have any issues usually. So selecting it there, and then as you can see, I can actually manually drag. Oh, for some reason it's not working. Okay, usually you can manually drag this up and down, but all I'm going to do is I'm going to type in the number at which I want to extrude it into the depth. So I'm making this a cube, so it's going to be 100. So type in 100 into the depth, press enter, and then as you can see, it's now a larger cube. Okay, well, it's a cube. You can then tick that extrusion once you're done, and you have your first three-dimensional object now. So from here, what I'll want you to do is share the document with me. So once you've created any of these objects, I want you to go over to the right-hand side, click on share, and then I want you to go to Teams, type in the name of your team, whatever that might be, and give them viewing privileges, only viewing privileges. Then you can click share. As you can see, they've now popped up over here. All right. Then I'm going to go into individuals and I'm going to type your teacher's name in. So whatever my email is that I've given you, that's the email you put in. So I'll put it in like that. And then I'm going to give me, you can give your teacher editing privileges. Okay, they probably won't even edit it, but just in case, maybe just give them, just make a habit of giving them editing privileges. Makes life easier for you mostly. Then left click share, and then you will see that I now have editing privileges. Okay, so editing, viewing, and then that should be it. You won't have this all users on Onshape. Then you can just close that. And to get out of this particular model, we just click on the Onshape icon in the top left corner once again. So as you can see, if I go to recently opened, you'll see my most recent item, number 1 square block. If I look at the teams, 10WTDA, the one that I shared it with, you see me right there at the top. I've shared it with that team. And now everyone in that team, so all these people can now view it. Okay, now view my object. And you can get a bunch of objects. All right, this is one of my classes that have made a bunch of different models from the booklet that you'll be given. All right, and they have been modeling through that booklet and sharing it with the team as they go. So that's the fundamentals of Onshape. That's how you make a model. I'm going to do it one more really, really fast this time. So we're at 13 minutes. So I'm going to go through the steps of creating a cube once again. I might actually make a rectangle just for fun, and I'm going to show you that process. So create, document, a lot faster this time. Number 2 rectangular block. While that loads in, I'm just thinking of what dimensions I might want my rectangular block to be. In the booklet there will be one with dimensions, but I'll just do it here. First I'm going to select my plane, then I'm going to select sketch. I'll show you from a different angle this time, so we can do the front plane, sketch. I'm going to use my center point rectangle. I will show you this view block. You can change the way you view the workspace. For me, I'm just going to view it from the front. So left click where I want the shape to start. Left click once more, hands off. And I'm going to make this 100 millimeters by 70 millimeters. Then I'm going to click tick to finish the sketch. I'm going to select my 2D shape once I'm out of the sketch mode. And then I'm going to extrude that item. So I can show you now, hopefully. No, it still doesn't want me to drag if I use my mouse. There we go. So you'll be able to see that I can change the size manually like that. but I'm not going to do it that way. I'm going to type it in to be exact, so the depth in this situation will be 100. Then I can tick my extrusion, and you can see that I now have a 100 by 70 by 100 rectangular block. I'm going to go and share that with the team. This time I'm going to share it with a different team, but you'll share it with your same team, give them viewing privileges, give me editing privileges, and then share. Close it up and go back to Onshape. Go to that particular team, make sure it's there, and as you can see, might be a bit further down. Maybe I gave it to A. Oh, maybe I didn't share it in time. Oh, I think I know what I did. I think I forgot to press share. So all you do in here is you can go to Created by Me, go to the little share button here, left click on it, and yep, I've only shared it with myself. I'm going to reshare it with my team. Give them viewing privileges. And then I just didn't click this share, this blue share button. And now you can see I didn't do the dummy check. Is the team is now in that tab there, so you can confirm that it's been shared. If I go in here, I'm going to double confirm too. So number 2 rectangular block. So these are the basics of Onshape. Essentially, you make a 2D shape and you give it mass by using the extrusion button, and then all the tools on how to actually get there are kind of on a case-by-case basis. So different models will lend themselves to different tools, and there's a variety of different ways of going about using this software. So yeah, hope that was helpful in getting you started on Onshape. And once you feel confident enough to make the basic models, maybe the first 6, then you're off and away, and you can do probably most of them after that. Maybe some of the 11s and 12s, once you reach double digits, you might need a little bit of help, but I think you'll find that it comes quite naturally after a while.